The Valari had ruled the galaxy for 12,000 years. They were tall beings made of something like living glass. Light moved through their bodies when they spoke. They lived for centuries and built cities that floated among the stars. They believed they were the greatest species in existence, but now they were afraid. A new enemy had come. The swarm, billions of insect-like creatures that moved as one mind. They ate everything: planets, moons, space stations. Nothing could stop them. The Valari military was failing. Their weapons were too weak. Their soldiers were too fragile. In 40 years, the swarm had taken 60 star systems. High Arbiter Thesan stood in a dark chamber deep below the surface of a dead moon. Around him, ancient machines hummed with power. His scientists had found this place 2 years ago. The beings who built it were long dead, but the machine still worked. It was a doorway, a portal that could reach across dimensions and pull things through. "Are you certain this will work?" Thesan asked. His voice made soft chiming sounds. The lead scientist, a young Valari named Oris, checked the readings again. "The calculations are correct, High Arbiter. We can pull beings from other dimensions, other realities. We can find soldiers to fight our war." Thesan looked at the swirling portal. It glowed with colors that had no name. This was their last hope. The swarm would reach the homeworld in 10 years. Maybe less. "Do it," he said. Oris pressed the activation sequence. The portal screamed with energy. Reality itself seemed to bend and twist. Then there was a flash of light so bright that every Valari in the chamber had to look away. When the light faded, something new stood in the chamber. It was a ship. A vessel made of gray metal, covered in strange markings. And standing around it were creatures unlike anything the Valari had ever seen. They were short, solid, made of dense flesh and thick bone. They had strange flat faces with small eyes. They wore matching clothes in dark blue colors. And they were pointing weapons at every Valari in the room. Captain Park Do-yoon kept his pistol raised as he tried to understand what had happened. One moment, the research vessel Baekdu had been sailing through calm waters off the Korean coast. The next moment, the entire ship had been pulled through a hole in the sky. Now they stood in a crystal chamber, surrounded by things that looked like glass statues. Except these statues were moving and talking, and clearly just as confused as he was. "Lieutenant Kim," he said quietly. "Status report." Kim Yuna stood at his right side. She was 32 years old, sharp-minded, and the best officer he had ever served with. She did not lower her weapon as she answered. "All 47 crew members accounted for, Captain. No injuries. The ship appears undamaged. As for where we are," she paused, "I have no idea." Behind them, Chief Engineer Cho Taiwan was already examining the walls. He touched the crystal surface with careful fingers. "This material is not from Earth," he said. "Nothing like it exists in our world." The glass creatures were making sounds now. High-pitched chimes and clicks. One of them, taller than the others, and wearing some kind of golden sash, stepped forward. A device on its chest flickered. Then it spoke in broken Korean. "Welcome. You are guests we bring you. For purpose. Important purpose." Captain Park did not lower his weapon. "Where are we? How did you bring us here? And what purpose?" The tall creature seemed to have trouble understanding. It spoke to the others in their strange language. More devices flickered. Finally, it tried again. "You are far from home. We need warriors, fighters. You will fight. For us." Silence filled the chamber. Park felt his crew tense around him. These beings, whatever they were, had kidnapped 47 Korean sailors and expected them to fight an unknown war. "And if we refuse?" he asked. The glass creature tilted its head. It did not understand the question. The idea that someone might refuse had never occurred to it. Behind the tall creature, a guard moved forward. It reached for Lieutenant Kim, perhaps trying to guide her somewhere. The moment the guard touched her arm, Kim reacted on instinct. She grabbed the creature's limb and twisted. The sound was like breaking ice. The guard's arm shattered into pieces. The creature fell back, making sounds of terrible pain. The other Valari gasped and retreated. Kim stared at her hands. She had not used much force, just a simple defensive move she had practiced 1,000 times. Medical Officer Shin Yoonji pushed forward and knelt beside the fallen guard. Her training took over even in this strange situation. She examined the creature and then looked up at the captain with wide eyes. Sir, these beings, their bones are like thin glass. Their organs have almost no protection. I barely have to touch them to feel everything inside. She paused. Captain, I think we could kill them by accident. High Arbiter Thiessen watched from across the chamber. His body flickered with fear. He had checked the readings 3 times. They were impossible. These creatures came from a Class 12 death world, a planet with crushing gravity, poison air, deadly radiation, and constant natural disasters. Such a world should not produce intelligent life, yet here they stood, small, dense, unbelievably strong. Their bodies were built to survive conditions that would kill any Valari in seconds. What had he summoned? Captain Park looked at the frightened aliens. He looked at his crew. He looked at the ship that had been their home for 3 years. We need answers, he said calmly. And then we need to find a way home. 63,000 light years away, alarms rang in the Korean Space Command headquarters. Admiral Beek Sumi read the report 3 times. A dimensional breach had been detected. The Baekdu and its crew had vanished into it, and the breach was still open. She picked up her phone and gave one order. Prepare the fleet. 3 weeks had passed since the summoning. The crew of the Baekdu lived in a special wing of the Valari station. The rooms had been reinforced with extra layers of crystal. The doors were made thicker. Everything was built stronger, not to keep the humans trapped, but to keep them from breaking things by accident. In 21 days, the humans had caused 17 incidents. Petty Officer Han Jisu had leaned against a door and crushed the opening mechanism. A sailor named Gong Daeho had sneezed near a Valari servant and sent the poor creature flying into a wall. Communications specialist Yoon Houn had simply walked too fast through a corridor and created a wind that knocked over 3 guards. The Valari were terrified of their guests, but they were even more terrified of what would happen if the guests left. Captain Park sat in a meeting room across from High Arbiter Thiessen. Between them, translation devices hummed and clicked, turning words into meaning. Explain again, Park said. His voice was calm but firm. Why did you bring us here? Thiessen's body flickered with pale blue light. This was how Valari showed stress. The swarm, he said. They are coming. They have destroyed 40 star systems, eaten billions of lives. Our military cannot stop them. Nothing can stop them. He pressed a button on the table. A hologram appeared in the air above them. It showed creatures that looked like giant insects. They had 6 legs, massive jaws, and armor made of black shell. They moved in endless waves, covering planets like a dark tide. They attack without mercy, without reason. They only consume. In 10 years, they will reach our homeworld. Everything we have built for 12,000 years will end. Park studied the images. He had fought pirates. He had survived storms that would kill most sailors. But he had never seen anything like this. So you built a machine to kidnap soldiers from other dimensions, he said. We did not kidnap, Thiessen replied quickly. We summoned. We hoped to find beings who could help us. Beings who could fight. And you found us. Yes, Dazan's light flickered again. But we did not expect you. He pressed another button. New images appeared. Charts. Graphs. Data that Park did not fully understand. Your homeworld, Thiessen said. It is a Class 12 death world. The highest danger rating in our classification system. Park frowned. Earth? A death world? Your planet has gravity that would crush Valari bones in seconds. Your atmosphere contains oxygen, a gas so reactive that it would burn our lungs. Your star gives off radiation that would kill us in hours. Your world has active volcanoes, earthquakes, hurricanes, and tsunamis. Predators hunt across every surface. Diseases mutate and spread without end. The captain sat in silence as Thiessen continued. No species should survive such a world. Yet your kind not only survived. You thrived. You became the dominant life form. You built cities and machines and weapons. Thiessen leaned forward. Captain Park, your people are living impossibilities. In the medical bay, Shin Yunji was learning just how true those words were. She had spent 3 weeks studying Valari biology. What she found amazed her. The Valari were delicate beyond imagination. Their bones were hollow like bird bones, but even thinner. Their internal organs had almost no protective tissue. Their blood was thin and could not clot quickly. A human child could kill a Valari, adult, without trying. She shared her findings with the senior officers that evening. They gathered in the captain's quarters, speaking quietly. Their entire species evolved on a world with low gravity and mild conditions, Yuji explained. They never needed to be strong, never needed to be fast. They used their long lives and intelligence to build technology instead. Lieutenant Kim crossed her arms. So we are monsters to them. Not monsters, Yunji said, but something close. Our bones are 20 times denser than theirs. Our muscles are designed to fight against gravity every moment of every day. Our immune systems are like weapons compared to theirs. We heal from wounds that would kill them. Chief Engineer Cho spoke next. I have been studying their technology. It is advanced in some ways. Their energy systems are elegant, but their weapons are weak. They never needed strong weapons because they never fought strong enemies. Until the swarm, Captain Park said. Yes, the swarm evolved on a harsh world. Not as harsh as Earth, but harsh enough. They are the first enemy the Valari have faced that does not die easily. Navigator Ominsu raised his hand. He was the youngest officer on the ship, only 26 years old, but brilliant with numbers and charts. Captain, I have finished calculating our position. Everyone turned to look at him. Using their star maps and our astronomical knowledge, I can say with certainty where we are. He paused. His face was pale. We are 63,000 light years from Earth, in another arm of the galaxy entirely. The room fell silent. 63,000 light years. Even at the speed of light, it would take 63,000 years to get home. They were more lost than any humans had ever been. Then communications specialist Yoon Haum burst into the room. She was breathing hard, her eyes wide with excitement. Captain, I found something. She held up a small device she had built from Valari parts and pieces from the Baekdu. I have been scanning all frequencies since we arrived, looking for anything familiar. Tonight, I found this. She pressed a button. Static filled the air. Then, faint but clear, a voice spoke in Korean. This is Admiral Baek Sumi of the Korean Space Command, calling any surviving crew of the Baekdu. We have tracked the dimensional breach. Repeat, we have tracked the breach. A rescue fleet is being assembled. The message repeated. The same words. The same voice. Coming from impossibly far away. Captain Park stood slowly. His crew looked at him with hope in their eyes. "The fleet is coming," he said softly. Then stronger. "Our people are coming for us." He turned to face the door. Beyond it, the Valari watched and worried. They had summoned Deathworlders into their war. They had no idea that more were on the way. Far across the dimensional barrier, Admiral Beak Sumi stood on the bridge of the carrier Dokdo's Pride. Behind her, 11 more ships waited in formation. The best crews, the strongest vessels, armed with weapons designed for a death world. Her orders were clear. Find the crew of the Baekdu. Bring them home. Her methods were her own to choose. She looked at the swirling breach in space ahead of them. Whatever waited on the other side had taken her people. That was a mistake. "All ships," she said calmly, "prepare to cross over." The fleet moved forward into the unknown. The alarm woke Captain Park from a dead sleep. Red lights flashed through the crystal walls. Strange sirens filled the air with sounds like breaking glass. He was on his feet before his eyes fully opened. 20 years of military service had trained his body to react before his mind caught up. Lieutenant Kim met him in the corridor. Her face was grim. "The swarm," she said. "They are here." Through the transparent walls of the station, Park could see them. Hundreds of ships that looked like giant insects made of black metal. They moved together like a single creature with many bodies. And they were coming fast. The lorry ran past them in panic. Their glass-like bodies flickered with colors of fear. Officers shouted commands that no one followed. Soldiers dropped their weapons and fled toward the escape ships. High Arbiter Thiessen appeared beside them. His form was dim, almost dark. This was not just fear. This was despair. "The swarm has never attacked this deep before," he said. "Our defenses will not hold. We must evacuate." "And what about us?" Park asked. "What about my crew?" Thiessen looked at him with something like guilt. "The evacuation ships are very fragile. Your weight, your density. You would break them apart just by boarding." He turned and walked away without another word. The humans were being left behind. Park watched him go. He felt no anger. There was no time for anger. Only decisions. "All crew to the ship," he ordered. Now, the 47 sailors of the Baekdu gathered in their reinforced wing within minutes. They moved with purpose, while chaos erupted around them. The Valari fled in every direction. Nobody tried to stop the humans. Nobody even looked at them. Chief Engineer Cho had been busy during their weeks of captivity. He held up a collection of strange objects. "I made these from maintenance tools," he explained. "They fire concentrated energy. Not pretty, but they work." He handed weapons to every crew member who could use one. Those who could not fight received other jobs: scouts, medics, runners. "The hangar bay is 6 levels down," Navigator O said. He had memorized the station layout in his first week. "If we can reach a ship, I can fly it." "Can you fly an alien ship?" Kim asked. "I can try." Park nodded. "Then we move. Stay together. Stay quiet. And if those things find us..." He did not finish the sentence. He did not need to. The swarm breached the station walls 4 minutes later. They poured through the broken crystal like black water. Each creature was the size of a large dog, covered in dark shell, with jaws that could cut through metal. The first one found Petty Officer Han Jisoo. She was covering the rear of the group when it came around a corner. It moved fast, faster than anything that Sai should move. Its jaws opened wide as it leaped toward her throat. Jisoo did not think. She reacted. Her fist connected with the creature's head. On Earth, she had trained in boxing since she was 15 years old. She had won 3 military championships. Her punch carried the weight and density of a death world human behind it. The swarm creature's head exploded. Dark blood sprayed across the wall. The body fell at her feet, twitching once before going still. Jisoo looked at her hand, then at the dead creature, then at her crewmates who stared at her with wide eyes. "They die," she said simply. "They can die." More came. Many more. The humans fought through 6 levels of the station. It took almost an hour. It felt like a lifetime. Medical Officer Shin Yoonji killed 3 swarm warriors with a surgical cutting tool. The laser was meant for metal, not flesh, but it worked just fine. She moved with calm precision, protecting the wounded crew members behind her. Navigator Oh Min-soo ran out of energy charges halfway through. When a swarm creature tackled him to the ground, he grabbed its jaws with both hands and pulled them apart. The creature's head split in 2. He wiped the blood from his face and kept moving. Communications. Specialist Yoonhoun had never fired a weapon in her life before today. By the time they reached the hangar, she had killed 11 enemies. Her hand shook badly, but her aim never wavered, and Petty Officer Han Jisoo became a legend. A corridor on level 3 was too narrow for the group to pass together. Swarm creatures filled it from both ends. Someone needed to hold one side while the others cleared a path. Jisoo volunteered. She stood alone in that corridor for 11 minutes. The swarm came at her in waves. 1 at a time, 3 at a time, 5 at a time. She broke them all. She used her weapon until it ran dry. Then she used her fists. Then she used a piece of metal torn from the wall. When Captain Park finally pulled her back, the floor was covered in bodies. 43 swarm warriors lay dead at her feet. She had cuts across her arms and face, a deep gash on her leg. But she was smiling. "They are strong," she said between heavy breaths, "but not stronger than us." The hangar bay was empty when they arrived. Every Valari ship had already fled. Only one vessel remained, a small transport ship, abandoned because its engines needed repairs. Chief Engineer Cho looked at the engines for 30 seconds. "I can fix this," he said. "Give me 10 minutes. "You have 5, Captain Park replied. "Everyone else, hold the doors." The swarm came in force. Dozens of warriors pushed through the main entrance. They had learned from the corridors. They did not attack 1 at a time anymore, but 47 humans stood in their way. Tired, bloody, some barely able to stand. They held the line. Anyway, Lieutenant Kim organized the defense. She placed the strongest fighters at the front, the wounded in the middle. The specialists protected the engineer. Every person had a role. The swarm attacked again and again. Bodies piled up at the entrance. Dark blood pooled on the crystal floor. And still the humans did not break. 5 minutes passed. The longest 5 minutes of their lives. "Engines are online," Cho shouted. The crew fell back in organized waves. Last ones in sealed the door behind them. Navigator Oh took the pilot's seat and did not hesitate. He had never flown anything like this ship before, but he had also never failed when it mattered. The transport burst through the hangar doors and into open space. Below them, the station was dying. Swarm ships covered it like insects on a corpse. The beautiful crystal structure cracked and burned. Captain Park looked at his crew. All 47 alive. Wounded but breathing. "We made it," someone whispered. Then the dimensional breach tore open in front of them. Space itself split apart. Light poured through the crack in reality. And from the light came ships. Human ships. Korean ships. 12 vessels emerged into the alien sky. Weapons already powered. Shields already raised. Admiral Biksumi's voice filled every frequency. "All hostile forces. This is the Korean Space Command. You have taken our people." That was a mistake. The guns of the Dokdo's Pride began to fire, and the swarm learned what a death world could truly do. Admiral Beak Sumi stood at the center of her bridge like a stone in a river. Everything moved around her. Officers shouted reports. Screens flashed with data. The ship shook from weapon fire, but she remained still and calm. Enemy count? She asked. Commander Quan Hyunwoo checked his tactical display. Over 2,000 swarm vessels, Admiral. They are forming an attack pattern. 2,000 against 12. Numbers that should have meant certain death. Admiral Beak did not smile. She did not frown. She simply nodded. Begin firing sequence Alpha. All ships engage at will. The Korean fleet had not been built for battles in space. 6 months ago, it did not even exist. When the dimensional breach first appeared, Korea had moved faster than anyone expected. Scientists worked without sleep. Engineers built without rest. Soldiers trained for a war they did not understand. They built their ships the only way they knew how. Strong, heavy, made for a death world. The first railgun shot from the Dokdos. Pride traveled at 40 kilometers per second. It punched through a swarm carrier like a needle through paper. The ship broke apart in a spray of dark metal and alien blood. The second shot killed another, then the third, then the fourth. Every ship in the fleet opened fire at once. Missiles streaked across the void. Energy beams cut through the darkness. Railgun rounds tore holes in reality itself. The swarm had never seen weapons like this. On their worlds, the swarm was the ultimate predator. Nothing could hurt their shells. Nothing could match their speed. They had consumed 1,000 species across 1,000 planets, but they had never faced a species from Earth. Human weapons were not elegant. They were not beautiful. They were designed by a people who had spent their entire history finding better ways to kill each other. Wars had shaped humanity. Violence was in their blood. And now, for the first time, that violence was pointed at something other than themselves. The swarm tried to adapt. They always adapted. That was how they survived. They sent their fastest ships toward the human fleet. Small, quick vessels that could avoid most weapons and slip through most defenses. The point defense systems of the Korean ships cut them apart. Thousands of small guns tracked and fired faster than any living thing could react. The swarm ships died in clouds of fire and metal. The swarm tried numbers next. They gathered hundreds of ships into a single wave. They attacked all at once, hoping to overwhelm the humans with pure mass. The missile batteries answered. Each missile carried enough explosive force to level a city. They launched in swarms of their own. Fire met fire. The swarm wave became an expanding cloud of debris. Then the swarm tried boarding. This was their greatest strength. They had never lost a boarding action. Their warriors were perfect killers in close spaces. Fast, deadly, without mercy. 30 swarm warriors breached the hull of the destroyer Shannon's Vengeance. They poured through the gap with their jaws open and their claws ready. Marines empowered. Armor met them. The armor added 200 kilograms of metal and machinery to each soldier. It made them stronger, faster, nearly impossible to hurt. But even without the armor, the humans would have been dangerous. Private Bae Sun-ho was 19 years old. He had joined the military to pay for college. He had never killed anything larger than an insect before this day. He killed 7 swarm warriors in 4 minutes. The close combat was brutal and short. Swarm claws scratched against armor that would not break. Human weapons tore through shells that had never faced such force. In 8 minutes, all 30 swarm warriors were dead. Not a single Marine fell. Across the fleet, the same story repeated. The swarm tried to board 6 different ships. 6 times they were thrown back with heavy losses. Admiral Beak watched the battle unfold. The swarm was losing. They knew it. She knew it, but they kept fighting anyway. They did not know how to do anything else. Admiral, Commander Quan said. We are receiving a signal from a small vessel. They claim to be the crew of the Baekdu. Put them through. Captain Park's voice filled the bridge. Tired but strong. Admiral Beak, this is Captain Park Do-hyun. All 47 crew members are alive and accounted for. For the first time, Admiral Beak allowed herself a small smile. Good to hear your voice, Captain. Bring your vessel to the Dokdo's Pride. We are taking you home. Understood, Admiral, and thank you. Thank me when we are back in Korean waters. For now, enjoy the show. The Korean fleet pushed forward. They had stopped defending. Now they attacked. Every ship moved as one, driving into the heart of the swarm formation. The swarm tried to retreat. They had never retreated before. They did not even have a word for it in their collective mind. But survival instinct was stronger than pride. It was not fast enough. The Korean ships chased them, hunted them, destroyed them. For every swarm vessel that escaped, 10 more died. Valari survivors watched from their distant ships. They had fled to battle expecting to see the humans destroyed. Instead, they watched the impossible. 12 ships against 2,000. And the 12 were winning. High Arbiter Thiessen stood on the bridge of his escape vessel. His body had gone completely dark. He could not process what he was seeing. These Deathworlders were not just strong. They were terrifying. High Arbiter, an aide said carefully. Should we help them? Thiessen did not answer. What help could they offer? Their weapons were toys compared to what the humans used. Their ships were glass compared to human metal. He had summoned these beings hoping to find soldiers. Instead, he had found something far more dangerous. A species that had survived a world designed to kill them. A species that had turned violence into art. The battle lasted 3 hours. When it ended, over 1,500 swarm ships had been destroyed. The human fleet had lost none. A few ships had damage. Some crew members had injuries, but every vessel still flew. Every soldier still breathed. Admiral Beak opened a channel to all frequencies. Our message was translated into every known language. Every surviving swarm ship heard it. Every Valari vessel heard it. Every species with a radio heard it. To the Valari Dominion. You took our people without permission. We have taken them back. Consider this a warning. We do not forget. We do not forgive. But we also do not seek war. Leave us alone, and we will leave you alone. She paused. To the swarm. You attacked citizens of Earth today. Some of you survived. Go back to your worlds. Tell your hive what you saw here. Tell them what happens when you touch our people. Another pause. To all others listening. Humanity asks only to be left in peace. We want to explore, to learn, to grow. We have no wish to conquer anyone. But if you threaten our people, fleets will follow. This is our promise. This is our warning. Remember it. The transmission ended. The dimensional breach still hung in space, glowing softly. The Korean fleet gathered around the small transport carrying the Baekdu crew. Captain Park looked back at the alien stars one last time. He thought about the Valari with their glass bodies and ancient civilization. He thought about the swarm with their endless hunger. He thought about the galaxy waiting beyond the breach. Then he looked forward toward the light of home. Take us through, he said. One by one, the ships of Earth crossed back through the breach. Behind them, the galaxy tried to understand what it had just witnessed. Deathworlders. Beings from a world that should have killed them. They had come. They had fought. They had won. And somewhere in the cold void of space, the swarm began to remember what fear felt like. 6 months had passed since the battle. 6 months since the fleet came home. 6 months since humanity learned it was not alone in the universe. Everything had changed. Captain Park Do-hyun stood on the bridge of his new ship, the Hallison. It was 3 times larger than his old vessel, built from the ground up for dimensional travel. armed with weapons that could crack a moon in half. He had been offered a desk job after the rescue, medals, honors, a comfortable retirement. He had refused all of it. The galaxy is out there, he told the admirals. Someone needs to explore it. Someone needs to protect our people when they do. So they gave him a ship and a mission, and a crew of volunteers who felt the same way. Lieutenant Kim Yuna, now Commander Kim, served as his second again. She had turned down 3 promotions to stay with him. When asked why, she simply said that Park was the best captain she had ever served under. She was not going to miss whatever came next. Chief Engineer Cho Taiwan had become the leading expert on Volari technology. He worked with teams of scientists day and night, adapting alien machines for human use. The dimensional drive that powered the Halcyon was his design. He was proud of that. Medical officer Shin Yoonji had written the first guide to alien biology. Hospitals across the world now trained their doctors using her research. But she wanted to learn more. One species was not enough. She wanted to understand every form of life the galaxy could offer. Navigator Oh Min-soo had mapped over 200 star systems from Volari records. He knew the location of every known species, every trade route, every danger zone. The galaxy was vast beyond imagination. He could spend 10 lifetimes exploring it and never see everything. And he was happy about that. Communications specialist Yoon Houn had developed new translation systems that worked faster and more accurately than anything the Volari had made. She had also detected signals from species the Volari did not know about. Distant voices calling out into the dark. Someone would need to answer them eventually. Petty Officer Han Jisoo had become a legend. Songs were written about her stand in the corridor. Children played games where they pretended to beat her. The military created a new medal just for her actions during the rescue. She did not care about any of that. I just did what needed to be done, she told reporters. Any Korean soldier would have done the same. Then she asked to be assigned to the Halcyon. She wanted to be there when humanity met the galaxy again. This time, not as victims, as equals. The United Earth Council had formed 3 months after the rescue. Every nation agreed that humanity needed to speak with one voice when dealing with aliens. They argued about many things. They always would. But on this, they were united. Earth would not be caught unprepared again. Admiral Beak Sumi now led the newly created Space Defense Command. Her face appeared on screens across the world. Some called her a hero. Others called her dangerous. She did not care about labels. My job is to keep our people safe, she said in her first public address. That has not changed. Only the scale has changed. 50 ships now guarded the dimensional breach. More were being built every day. If the swarm came through, they would find an army waiting, but not everyone in the galaxy was an enemy. 3 weeks ago, a message arrived through the breach. It came from High Arbiter Thiessen of the Volari Dominion. His words were careful and humble. To the humans of Earth, we wronged you. We took your people without asking. We left them to die when danger came. For this, we apologize. We have no excuse, only regret. The message continued. The swarm has retreated from Volari space. They fear to advance while humans guard the breach. You have given us time. Time to rebuild. Time to prepare. We do not deserve this gift, but we are grateful for it. Then the request. We ask for an alliance, not as masters and servants, as partners, as equals. We know this is more than we deserve, but we must ask anyway. The swarm will return. They always return. And when they do, we would rather stand beside Earth than against it. The council debated for 2 weeks. Some wanted revenge. The Volari had kidnapped Korean citizens. They had planned to use humans as weapons. They deserved punishment, not friendship. Others argued differently. The Volari were weak, yes. Fragile, yes. But they had technology humanity needed. Knowledge of a galaxy humanity did not understand. An alliance could benefit everyone. Admiral Beak listened to all arguments. Then she gave her opinion. The Volari made a mistake. A terrible one. But they did not attack us. They did not try to hurt us. They were desperate and afraid, and they acted badly because of it. She paused. I have seen what the swarm does to planets. No species deserves that fate. Not even one that wronged us. The vote was close. But in the end, the council agreed to open talks. Captain Park received the news on the bridge of the Halcyon. His crew gathered around him as he read the orders. We are to cross through the breach, he said. We are to meet with the Volari, and we are to begin building the first alliance between Earth and another species. Petty Officer Han Jisu smiled. So we are going back. We are going back. Navigator Omen Su pulled up the star charts. 63,000 light years of unknown space waited for them. Dangers they could not imagine. Wonders they could not predict. The swarm will come again, Commander Kim said quietly. They do not forgive. They do not forget. Neither do we, Captain Park replied. But we also know how to make friends. How to build. How to hope. He looked at his crew. The swarm only knows how to destroy. That is their weakness. We will show the galaxy something different. The Halcyon's engines hummed with power. 50 escort ships formed up around it. The largest fleet humanity had ever sent beyond Earth. The dimensional breach opened like a door to infinity. All ships, Admiral Beak's voice said over the radio. You carry the hopes of Earth with you. Make us proud. Captain Park took a deep breath. Take us through, he ordered. The fleet moved forward. Into the breach. Into the unknown. Into a galaxy that had just learned to fear the name of Earth. But fear was not the only thing. Humanity they brought courage. They brought curiosity. They brought the stubborn refusal to ever give up that had carried them through ice ages and plagues and wars. They brought hope. The Volari had made one fatal error. They had summoned Deathworlders from a Class 12 world. They had expected monsters. Instead, they got something far more dangerous. They got humans. And behind those humans, a fleet had followed. The first of many. The beginning of something new. Humanity had come to the stars, and they were just getting started.